quite heavy and spread a bit further eastwards, whilst the rain in the southeast clears away. Temperatures down a degree or so compared to today, but with some brighter skies, lighter winds. If anything, it'll feel a bit more pleasant. Not so pleasant on Sunday. We have some heavy rain and strong winds pushing in from the west. Rainfall totals could really build up, particularly across parts of South Wales. Do stay up to date with our warnings, as there's a chance that we may need to escalate them in some places. And we have strong winds with coastal gales, perhaps gusts in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour for some. So a really unsettled day ahead. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good evening, I'm Johnny Ratner. Problems on the M6 in Warwickshire. A van is broken down, blocking off the inside lane southbound at junction 3, the Coventry exit, causing long tailbanks back to the Corley services. And the M11 is down to a single lane heading south of Cambridge from junction 10 to 9. There's been an accident and a breakdown on that stretch. In North East London, the A10 at Hackney is closed on the Kingsland Road near Dalston Junction. Investigation works underway following an accident around 3 o'clock, TfL tell us. The M20 in Kent is down to a single lane if you are heading towards the Channel Tunnel or indeed towards Dover from junction 4 to 5, Leybourne to Aylesford after a coach and a lorry were involved in an accident. Long queues back to the M26. And in Dorset, midway between Dorchester and Bridport, the A35 is closed following a serious accident near to the A37. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
We're giving you not one, but 2 chances to win this month, with 2 prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and on tonight's show we have Stephen Pound, former Labour MP. Broadcaster Lizzie Cundy, she's on the show for the second time. Pub landlord and GB News legend Adam Brooks, he's back on. And also joining me is one of my old muckers from Ashfield, that's Chef Dave. But first, let's go to the news.
Very good evening to you. The top stories from the newsroom at 7 o'clock. We start with breaking news from Germany, where we're just hearing that a major police manhunt is underway in Berlin, the German capital, after reports there of a knife attack at the city's Holocaust Memorial, which is believed at this stage to have left several people wounded, including one man who is reportedly seriously injured. That man is said to have been injured by a sharp object at around 6 o'clock local time, that is around 5 o'clock UK time here, and has now been taken to hospital by emergency services. Police in Berlin saying a major operation is now underway following that attack at the memorial, which sits just next to the US Embassy in the city, where police have now sealed off the site and are carrying out their searches. And it comes just hours after a teenager was arrested on suspicion of planning a separate attack on the Israeli embassy in the German capital. So we will keep across any developments on that story and bring it to you. Turning, though, to news here at home, and Reform UK's Deputy Leader Richard Tice has slammed Labour, claiming they failed to take immigration seriously and dismiss working-class voters. It comes after a letter seen by GB News reveals Sir Keir Starmer told his ministers to admit his party ignored working people's concerns about immigration for too long. The Prime Minister says politicians have also become too scared to acknowledge that some migrants are genuine refugees and some aren't. He warns Labour must stop patronising voters and counter the rise of Reform's policies. And he's pledged to stand up for ordinary people who feel shut out and ignored. And an update on Pope Francis. He is being treated for double pneumonia but remains stable, according to his doctor. They confirm that the pontiff is not in danger of death but stress that his recovery is ongoing. That's the latest news from the newsroom for now. I'll be back with you in an hour. Now, though, let's get back to Lee.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to the Andersons' Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and joining me tonight, the very lovely, the gorgeous Lizzie Cundy. Thanks for coming back on. And this week, our left in the corner is back. He's been released from the care home. It's Stephen Pound. He's got 3 drinks there, and he's had 3 already. Former Labour MP. Thanks for coming on, Steve, and thanks for the gifts, by the way. We'll chat about that later. A little bit naughty of you.
Can you keep that to yourself?
I'll keep that to myself.
Gifting.
I won't declare that on my register of interest. But look, guys, this week, she's up to her old tricks again, Stephen. This Zara Sultana, I think it's Sultana, Member of Parliament, independent Member of Parliament. Yeah. She was a Labour MP. She had the whip taken off her. But still a Labour Party member, by the way. And she's been saying some pretty awful things about Reform UK. And she said, in a statement to GB News, as a born and bred Brummie whose parents suffered the violent consequences of far-right politics, I speak for many in this proud multicultural city when I say reject the politics of hatred and division. In my view, based on the comments they have made, that's us, Reform UK, publicly about Muslims and migrants, Reform UK, oh, by the way, our chairman's a Muslim, Reform UK is comparable to the National Front and the British National Party. We pushed back against them before and we'll do it again. Reform UK is a party bankrolled by billionaires led by ex-banker public schoolboys. Its leader boasts of being the only politician in Britain keeping Thatcher's legacy alive. The same Thatcherism that decimated pit villages and post-industrial towns across the Midlands, leaving generational scars. Look, it goes on a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm not sure what. I think
we've heard enough, if you don't mind.
Okay then, Steve. Yeah. Over to you. This is a Labour Party member, was a Labour MP, got elected on a Labour ticket, and I'm quite sure there's quite a few in the Labour Party still in the Commons now. Will pretty much agree with what Zara's having to say.
Well, let's face it, as you say, Sultana is currently not, I mean, actually that goes well, doesn't it? She's not actually a Labour, doesn't take the Labour whip. But look, I suspect that you know rather more about pit villages than she does.
Yeah.
And I think there's a saying that once you start talking about the Nazis and the National Front, you've lost the argument. Yeah. Because you've got to throw that in. I think to compare a legitimate political party to an illegitimate force is completely absurd. However, what you're seeing all over Europe, I think, is a move to the left and to the right. And I think there's no question that there's a group within Parliament now, and you know that this present group who've just signed this latest letter to the Prime Minister, is people like Jeremy Corbyn and Richard Burden. There is a move to the left, and I think to a certain extent reform is a move to the centre-right. But from my point of view, as an old Labour, and a very old Labour member...
Very old.
The Labour Party I joined was socially conservative, economically liberal, and, to be honest, she could accuse us of being on the right. Labour MPs used to be. She does not represent the mainstream, the warp and weft of this nation.
Are you trying to say that the old Labour Party is a bit like the new Reform UK Party?
Good God, no. I say, there are certain aspects of traditional Labour that you and I, let's be honest, we agree on.
Yes, we do. Lizzie, you've seen these tweets. Have the lunatics taken over the asylum once again?
Well, it seems so. I'm disgusted with this. I think it's offensive. I think it's sinister. And most of all, I think it's dangerous. It incites, division. It could incite violence. And most of all, it's not true. Yeah. And I think she's inept. I don't think she knows what is going on in this country.
What it is, Lizzie, what led to this response to GB News was a tweet that Zara put out. It was basically a picture of Nigel with some graphics on, Nigel Farage, that is, advertising the date of our conference in Birmingham next month, the 28th of March, I think it is, and basically saying, we're waiting for you.
Well, can you imagine if Nigel did that to her, put a cross through? Yeah. And look what actually happened to Nigel when he was campaigning. He had that milkshake thrown at him. Yeah. Could have been a lot worse. We've already had 2 MPs assassinated. Does she not realise the danger she could be creating? This woman is a disgrace. I am absolutely livid with this. And really, how about I look at the polls? Because Reform are the largest growing British political party we have.
They are.
And they are doing so well, 27% in the polls. Labour, I think, are down at 24, Conservatives at 20.
Stephen, you're of a certain age. I think you're a little bit younger than my parents, who are still rattling about, or probably watching this right now. But, for them, ex-Labour voters voted Tory for the first time in 2019, voted for me and Reform UK. These have been labelled. These are my parents, that's fully shifting, gone to work for 40, 50 years. My grandparents fought in the wars, great-grandparents fought in the First World Wars. They're calling us these horrible names.
Well, I hate to agree completely with Lizzie Cundy, because normally we disagree quite violently.
Really?
But I have to say she's nailed it, absolutely nailed it. This woman is a disgrace. But have a look at what happened in America. Why did people desert the Democrats in America? Partly it was because of a perception that they had completely lost that contract that every political party should have with the electorate. And I think there's certain aspects of the Labour Party, not the majority by a long way, but a small percentage of them who are simply out of contract with the public. And I think the evidence is that you've now got, 200,000 members?
210,000.
All right, sorry. As of when I left the house this morning, it was 200,000.
In 1 year, Stephen, we've amassed over 200,000 members in just 1 year.
So if Zara Sultana is saying that over 200,000 people are National Front and BNP sympathisers, then, well, frankly, she's made an absolute bigger fool of herself than I thought she was capable of.
I mean, unbelievable. I mean, 4 million voted for Reform. As you say, the members are growing day by day. So she's saying a quarter of the British electorate are far-right MPs. That's what she's saying, which to me is totally offensive. This woman needs to go. I don't want to ever see her again. It is so wrong. And imagine anyone else doing that through someone, that black line. Yeah. That is so wrong to do that. Right. It's nasty, it's evil, it's sinister.
So, Stephen, you played a big role in the Labour Party for many, many years. Was a Labour MP and Minister for several years. What were the big bosses in the Labour Party now be saying? Because, she is an independent MP, but still a Labour Party member. Can she have the membership taken away from her?
Well, she can. It's a fairly convoluted process, but of course she can. Look, the reality is that, Reform UK have had a few wrong-uns standing under their banner in the past, because, everybody tries to do due diligence. But you've got this tension when you've got elected people. On the one hand, you want to have the local party have the autonomy and the right to choose who they want. On the other hand, you've got to actually make sure you don't get some wrong-uns through the net. I think in this particular case, parts of the Coventry Labour Party, which don't forget, it's the only town in the country that actually elected a militant. I mean, Dave Nellis actually stood as a member of the militant tendency. Got elected in Coventry. But we need to do a bit more due diligence. She has no future in the Labour Party. Trust me on that.
Lizzie?
No, but I'm sorry, Stephen. Your party, they were supposed to be for the working class hero. Since they've come into power, they have been nothing but doing wrong, lie after lie after lie.
Name one single
Keir
lie.
Starmer, his judgment on people. Look at Rachel from accounts.
There's another lie, yeah.
Rachel from accounts has lied and lied and lied on her
What
CV.
about
Sorry, that's actually a criminal offence. Did you know that, to lie on your CV?
Well, I've heard this week that I think the business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, he's been creative on his CV as well, claimed he was a solicitor. Is that right, Steve?
But Jonathan, he trained as a solicitor. He was supposed to then do his pupillage, where he's actually working with another. He didn't complete it because he stood for Parliament.
So he's never been a solicitor, then?
So he's not a solicitor, is he? Stop making excuses for him. They're liars. And the worst thing is Keir Starmer's judgment, because he put her in power. Rachel from accounts. You know, it's nothing wrong with working in the Halifax and the complaints department, but don't pretend you're doing something else.
Well, I'm sorry. She said she'd worked for the Bank of England for the best part of 10 years. She worked for 6.5 years.
She doubled it.
But hang on a second, Lizzie. Where's these lies? You say the Labour Party has, not individuals, but the party has lied. Give me an example. Give me one example.
Winter fuel payment. Winter fuel payment's one.
Pensioners, taking off the pensioners, they didn't say that.
Sorry.
The farmers taking, doing the inheritance tax to the
But I'm sorry, the inheritance tax on farmers was something that the Daily Telegraph was pumping 2 years ago.
Lie after lie. What about Freebegate and his free glasses and suits?
Yeah.
What about Lord Ali? Where's Lord Ali now?
Where's the lie?
Party have changed. They're going to change things. How are things working? I'm trying to be impartial here.
Changing for the worse. Lie after lie. You know, they said they were going to be the party of integrity. Yet, what happened with Freebegate? You know, Taylor Swift tickets, suits, glasses. The list goes on and on and on and on.
So where's
Please,
the lie?
it's embarrassing.
Stephen,
and his judgment is.
Did you take freebies as an MP?
Good God, of course I didn't. Nobody offered them to me.
I wonder why that is. No, but seriously, Lizzie's got a good point. You know, when there's, just before the election, we kept hearing Sir Keir Starmer saying, with the party of change, we're going to clear it up, we're sick of all this stuff that's going off in number 10 Downing Street, stuff going off in government, you know, it's the politics of the gutter and all this. As soon as it gets in, and this is going to carry on, by the way, stuff is going to be revealed every single week now. It's like the party in
And we're
government.
not allowed to mention the vocal coach, are we? We're not allowed to. Look, what we want is a
You've
leader.
just done it.
We don't want a barrister. We've got a barrister that is Prime Minister, not a leader. That's sadly what we've got.
What do you think of that, Stephen? Vocal coaches on Christmas Eve?
Well, I
don't think that's the only lessons that
I have to say that shows dedication to duty, doesn't it?
Well,
Christmas Eve, while the rest of us were, you know, lagering it up.
We weren't lagering it up there because we were locked down.
Yeah.
We're locked down, and also I hope he gets his money back, because he sounds like a Dalek.
It does.
With
It sounds like a distressed Dalek.
with a hernia.
Yeah, with a hernia.
I'm sorry, you know, play the ball, you know, not the man. Yeah.
It's true.
Stephen, did you have vocal lessons?
Oh, you're having a Turkish, mate.
Lizzie?
No, I don't need vocal lessons. I went to drama school, so I'm very good with my vocals, yes. But I've just got to say, look, it is one thing after another with this government. It's lie after lie after lie. And you know, people in my pub who have voted for Labour because the Conservatives were inept, that's the reason why they got in. But it's saying we voted, and it's a lie. We want to take back our vote.
A lively discussion, guys. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Lizzie. But coming up next, we've got a special segment this week with Adam Brooks, the landlord of this place, and the good old mucker of mine, Chef Dave.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
As we kick off 2025, many of us might be thinking about a bit of a wardrobe refresh, especially if you're over 50 and you feel like the high street doesn't quite cater to you.
Indeed. That's where our next guest, Mel Tillett, comes in. She's in the studio with us now.
Mel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I love that you are this accidental influencer. I love that you said that's the first time.
Yeah, it is. That's the first time I've heard it.
You can have that for free on
thank
TV.
You so much. It's quite true.
Tell us about your following. Obviously, an influencer that many people might typically think of would be someone in their teens, someone in their 20s, someone who's particularly social media savvy, using TikTok. Talk to us about your brand of influencer.
Well, our influencer, my kind of influence is over the older age group, the over 50s. For my business, I do a lot of live videos. I'll do them early in the morning at 7:30, which sounds ridiculous, but I know my ladies are up and about at that time having a cup of coffee or whatever that might be. And just being honest about day-to-day life. So my dogs are running about, my grandchildren are even sometimes in them, one thing and another. So it's just been purely by accident that I've got this really nice, loyal following, and I get lovely messages off ladies. I'll do things like, I'll tell them when I'm going for a mammogram, and I'll say, come on, everybody go for your mammogram.
That's brilliant.
All sort of health-conscious things. I've been a lot heavier than I am now, and I've slimmed down and lost some weight. I've been talking about that journey as well. And then ladies will ask me questions on the videos, and we chat about all sorts of different things. And now I'm getting messages every day, and people are loving the clothing ranges that we do. Yeah, and it's just, I started off as a business, that's purely what I did, but it's turned out into this other, I get recognised places I go now, which is really weird.
It must be a huge benefit to your business as well.
We employ around about 50 people.
Wow.
And I'm quite open to my audience and saying, you know, while ever you keep buying off us, while ever you're loving our products and our clothing, you're keeping 50 people in jobs.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Lee Anderson's Real World special segment of the show. My old friend Adam Brooks, the landlord, he's back on the show. He's been a while, Adam, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've been busy, to be fair.
Been busy with GB News. Fighting and all the stuff. And one of my own muckers from my constituency is Chef Dave. He's on the show for the first time. Dave, you've just been in a show, a Channel 4 show, called Go Back to Where You Came From. So that involved you going to places like Syria, looking at genuine refugees in their camps and whatever, people who were fleeing persecution, right back to going to northern France, where you were seeing a different demographic of people claiming similar sort of difficulties. But you said to me earlier that you were more scared, more afraid of the people in the camps in northern France than you was the people in Syria.
Yeah. Well, in Syria, it was families, lovely people. And to be honest with you, when I got there, like, I thought maybe we wouldn't be very welcome. Maybe there'd be, you know what I mean, like, because a lot of stuff's happened over there. And I thought maybe, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Nicest people I've ever met in my life, families, kids, saddest thing I've ever seen. But then you get to Calais, and it's just single men. I didn't see any kids, any families, and I was generally scared there. Like, they didn't, I mean, I didn't speak to all of them, but the people I did speak to, like, they didn't seem like very...
But what about the crime in northern France in these camps?
A lot. A lot of crime. From what I spoke to a Syrian family that was there, just two, I think there were 3 blokes, and they were saying that there's a lot of rape that goes on, a lot of knife crime, gangs, and the smuggling gangs are actually part of the immigrants. So they do it between themselves, and, like, they're using people's lives to make money. And
Adam, you've had plenty to say about this in the past, we know you have, but I mean, I think some of these out-of-touch MPs that work in that place I work at should try and make that same journey that Dave's made.
100%. You know, how can they talk about something they don't know about? And we've had people from Dunkirk, officials as well, and in authority from Dunkirk and in Calais, that speak about gun crime. You know, immigrants letting off guns, machete and knife fights in the streets of Calais. Now, in a few months, those people end up in Britain. So, you know, they're probably, how many of them are in the hotels currently being paid for by ourselves? We do not know their histories. We do not know their motives for being here. And they're being dumped into communities where their families, you know, there was a migrant hotel near here in Epping. Now, I speak to locals of Epping. These immigrants would walk up the high road, they would be spitting, they would be creating crime, yet no one wants to talk about it in case you're labelled racist. One thing I'm not scared to is talk and speak about the issues of this country. It's not racist to push back against these illegal immigrants and asylum seekers. We're spending 5.4 billion housing them in hotels and the support. Now we find out they're getting DJ lessons, they're getting yoga sessions.
Do you know what's sad though, right? That I've found really sad and terrifying is like the families I met in Syria. Like, I'd have them living next door to me tomorrow.
Yeah,
beautiful people, lovely people, right? And they were moaning about it more than probably we were because it's unfair. There's families that generally need help, right? And I was in tears. It was horrible. And then you go to Calais and you're seeing people that I won't help them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's all of them, but the ones I met, it's like they're jumping the queue. And then for some reason, people in the UK think that's acceptable. So these families that I met, that are learning English, they're learning skills, they're doing it the right way. It takes ages. But the reason they're not getting a shout is because it's getting filled up by single young men that are just jumping the queue and getting in. And then we're, for some reason, like, oh yeah, let them in. And these families that, again, like I said, I'd love to bring them in.
Look, we're not monsters.
So sad.
We're not monsters. I would generally always want to help people families that are fleeing war. But we know the majority of these people coming across are economic migrants. As Dave says, they're causing genuine people to miss out on a better life. And for me,
but what
it's
is
the
it
danger
about
of
Parliament now? I mean, I've been there nearly 6 years, 5.5 years now, Adam, in Parliament, and they still don't get it. They still... I mean, I think the Labour Party is suddenly, now they're in government, they're sort of understanding it a little bit better. But before, it was everybody coming over on a boat on the Channel was a genuine refugee fleeing persecution. Now they're labelling them as migrants.
Look, Labour are not suddenly understanding it. They are petrified of Reform UK taking their constituencies. So they're not understanding. Now they're suddenly thinking, what can we say to maybe get a few voters back? Well, the time for talking is done. People want to see action.
And you're right.
I just don't understand it. I mean, as me, I'm not part of any political party. I am a Reform voter, but I'm not part of anything. And like, what I don't understand is like, why no one's doing anything about it? Because it's obviously a problem.
But
it is a problem.
We've got a problem in this country.
It doesn't matter who you are. Like, if you're left wing, right wing, whatever you are, like it. Surely you can see it's a problem.
Look, Lee, there's a thing I think on the Telegraph this morning yesterday about a Syrian asylum seeker, sex attacker, that we can't deport because it might breach his human rights.
Oh, mate, don't.
Now, I'm sorry, I've got no feelings about their human rights. What about the human rights of the women or the children that are being raped in this country? The human rights of a taxpayer like myself, like you, to have a safe country. A government's job is to protect its citizens, and they're not doing that. And we should just be putting them on a plane like Trump has done in America.
Oh, mate, I mean, within days.
That's a man, doesn't it?
Within days.
But it proves that it can be done.
It can be done. It takes political will, it takes a backbone.
And we are so...
But what we have seen, Adam, over the past few weeks, is the Labour government saying, look at this 20,000 people were deported. What they're not saying is that the vast majority of them have volunteered to go back. They are overstayers. These are people who actually come here legally, not illegally. They've came here to work or to study, and for whatever reason, they've been a bit naughty and stayed over. But we saw one raid on a farm somewhere in the UK, where they went and dragged all the workers, illegal workers. They overstayed. They'd been picking fruit or picking vegetables, whatever. Actually, I'm thinking, in the grand scheme of things, if we're going to deport people, they'd be the bottom of my priority because they're actually working and picking vegetables.
Like, what would you do, Lee? Like, I know you're in Reform, and I know you get labelled as like a big nasty gorilla or whatever it is they label it as. But I know that, like, maybe it is, to be fair. But I know you personally from helping at food banks. I know you're a good person, and I know in our area, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, you look after everybody. Simple as that. But like, what would you do to solve the situation? Because these families that I met, I'd love them to get help, but they don't. And then why? What would you do with your party? Like,
people say we need safe routes. Yeah, that's always been the case. Like we had for Afghanistan, like we had for Ukraine and other countries. But you cannot have that, Dave, until you stop the people coming over on the small boats.
This is it.
You can't, because just 50,000 came last year, Adam.
It's
same
unfair.
year before.
It's unfair because these genuine families don't get help.
I mean, these idiots in Parliament say we've got to get rid of the backlog, the asylum claims. What does that achieve? It achieves nothing.
No, all they're doing is they're stamping everyone through. And look, let's be real here, and I sound like a broken record. We have had murderers. We have had paedophiles, gangsters, rapists come across on these boats, and the left just put their fingers in the ears. Oh, it's just a few of them. Well, to me, one is too many. You know,
I just don't know why they're defending
and a hotel
them.
worker lost her life, unfortunately, and wouldn't have lost her life if these people weren't coming across on the boat. So we've got to start putting British people first, right? And we've got to start getting tough like Trump and Elon Musk are in America. Otherwise, we are sending a signal to the world. Come here.
We're the laughing stock, aren't we?
We are a laughing stock.
They're not solving it. Like, what? I don't get it.
Political work takes a backbone, and there's too
look
many...
hard to do. Just say.
I think what it is, Dave, in Parliament, I noticed even with the Conservative Party when they were in government, there's too many lawyers.
Is that what it is?
They're MPs.
Can we not just... I can't swear. Can you not just...
Nearly swore it, Dave.
Nearly swore. Can we not... Sorry about that, guys.
I mean, if it was in my gift, I would ban anybody who's a barrister or a lawyer being a member of Parliament because they get tied up with this nonsense.
Well, let's just mention the Chagos Islands.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a big boys club of lawyers that are divvying things up between them, you know.
Time's up. Talking about chatting nonsense, time's up. Every pub's a parliament. I think that discussion proves that. But coming up next, we've got right versus left.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, and it's time for Right versus Left. We've got Stephen Pound and the lovely Lizzie Cundy. Look, you're ex-military, aren't you, Stephen? You've done a bit of time in the Navy.
RN, yeah.
Royal Navy?
Yeah.
It was, many, many years ago. Was that national service, by the way?
No, just after that. Volunteer.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
So we see
Living
this
the
week.
dream and serving the Queen.
Yes, there's been some developments this week in Ukraine.
Yeah.
We see Trump making some noises, and he's been talking to Putin. And then we've seen some of our, I think our Sakir Starmer has mentioned this week, there may be a possibility that some of our British troops could be sent to Ukraine, Stephen. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, hang on a second. I mean, the British Army at the present day is under 80,000 people. It's about 78,000 people.
72.
It's 72,000. So, I mean, the Royal Navy's got about 40,000. There's twice as many people in prison as there are in the Royal Navy. And he's not talking about sending combat troops in now. What he's talking about is if there's a ceasefire and if there is a peace line, having United Nations troops supported by European troops. And don't forget, Europe's given more money to Ukraine than ever America has. But what seriously worries me about this is Vladimir Zelensky has been thrown under a bus here. And when I have to say, when Donald Trump says that Zelensky started the war, I mean, that is false news, however you look at it. Even you must agree with that.
OK, Lizzie?
I think Keir Starmer reminds me of Dad's Army. Don't panic, remember, because
that was Jones, wasn't it?
he's jumped the gun. He's set off before he can walk. He really has. He's so premature.
I think what it is, Liz, some of these politicians are far too quick to get something out on Twitter, aren't they?
Yeah.
To get the clicks and likes.
He was saying peacekeepers, now it's boots on the ground.
Yeah.
What does he actually mean? He obviously has no idea about the army. And one thing we do know is that the army is in desperate need of help. It's depleting. I mean, you said 72,000. And actually 10,000 of them aren't fit to serve. It couldn't. Our army couldn't even fill Wembley Stadium.
It raises a bigger question as well, Stephen, not just about Ukraine. I mean, how many young British lads and lasses would actually go out now and want to fight, not just for our country, but for another country?
Lee, I'm sorry, mate. When you wear the badge, you do what the orders are. You go. We know that. But look, what worries me about this, and genuinely worries me about this, is people who've never done military service are very keen to actually commit people who have done military service. And it slightly worries me about when I first came in the Labour Party. I remember going to my first council meeting, and virtually every Labour councillor had a military tie on, their regimental tie on. There used to be that tradition. No, OK, that's a generational thing to a certain extent. But nowadays we're talking about a completely different world. We're not talking about the old regiments. We're talking about an asymmetric, civilised war. We're talking about a war where people don't wear uniforms. It's a dangerous war. But this business about...
we haven't looked after our own army, have we?
Their
equipment, their homes, their housing, everything.
Listen, everybody...
It's not an attractive job
And to top
anymore.
it all, Lizzie, if you do something 30 years ago, the big, black, thick leather glove will come banging on your door and arresting you.
Well,
exactly.
Lizzie, every single member of every single armed force that I've ever known complains about their kit. You always do. I mean, my day, we said the Americans had better boots than us. Everybody complains about their kit.
It's on its lowest ebb than it is today, though. And we can't have Keir Starmer saying, without thought and without thinking, as usual, saying, oh, we're going to put them out in Ukraine. He hasn't got an army. He's got no army to do that.
Do you know, we've actually got one of the best armies in the world. It may be one of the smallest, but it is one of the best. Our Royal Marines
doesn't fill Wembley Stadium, Stephen. And you've got spare seats. It doesn't even fill Wembley Stadium. It's a sorry affair.
In my day, if you had 450 matlows on a warship, on a frigate, now you've got about 110. Things are different now.
But the laughable thing is, Stephen, I mean, Sakir Starmer is talking about sending troops to Ukraine to keep peace, to protect the borders. We can't even protect our own borders.
Exactly.
It's a slightly different issue.
It's not different.
No, but what's he going to do? Is he going to have Officer Dibble with a truncheon? He can't stop, everyone coming over to us.
Top Cat.
Yeah, well, exactly. But what I'm saying is he can't stop people coming over to this on his watch. How many have come in? He said smash the gangs. He can't smash the ice of his garden pond.
Exactly. I mean, Stephen, people around the world have been looking at this and saying, look at Sakir Starmer. He's going to send troops into Ukraine, protect the borders. Meanwhile, we've got thousands of young men, unarmed men, coming over the channel. You can't even stop them.
Hang on a second. Look, we've used it in East Timor, in Sierra Leone, in Kosovo. British troops have actually held the line. But today, there is a European force in Georgia actually holding the line there. We can do this, but we have to first of all get the ceasefire. And what worries me...
we haven't done it for our own country. Surely...
Of course we've done it for our own country.
Any duty of any government is to put his own people first. And he hasn't done that since he's got into power.
Lizzie, you're so desperate.
Stephen, will you just reduce your aggressive attitude, please? We have got ladies present.
I'm sorry. OK. Listen, if Putin wins in Ukraine, that is an existential threat to Europe. He will not stop. He will come into Poland, he will come into Moldova, he'll come into Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia.
That's why Trump is trying to do the deal. There needs to be a peace deal. We have sent 12.8 billion to the Ukraine. It's going to be this endless war, but it needs to be stopped. Even my friends who are Ukrainian want this peace deal. They don't want the war.
peace.
Their
But not
country is
surrender.
ruined. Not surrender. They need
I'm
a
sorry,
peace deal.
what's the difference?
We need a peace deal. We need this war to stop. Endless supplies, billions and billions of money, and the lives that are lost. This war needs to be stopped. We all want peace, but it needs to be stopped.
We could have stopped in 1939. We could have surrendered to Nazi Germany, and we could have saved all that money. That's not about that. It's about defending our rights, our European rights, our rights as a free country and free citizens. Putin is a threat to Europe.
Yes,
End
we
of.
know he is but we've got.
But what
Trump.
are you doing about it?
Because what did Keir Starmer's going over next week? He's only ever done is call Trump names, and Trump is trying to do something with a peace deal. You've got to give him that. Biden did nothing.
Trump has said
they have done
Zelensky
nothing to
Guys,
stop this war.
Sorry, mate. Turn it down. We're getting excited.
We are.
Red-faced. But after this conflict's over, because it's going to be over one day.
Yeah, of course it is.
What's going to happen to Zelensky?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I've been to Ukraine quite a few times. You've probably been asked to go a few times too. When you actually move east-west, I mean, when you're in the Donbass region, I remember going to Shakhtar Donetsk. People are predominantly Russian speakers there. In the centre, south of Kyiv, predominantly Ukrainian speakers. In the west, up by Lvov, they're Polish speakers. The word Ukraine in Russian means the border. Ukraine is actually a vast... It was the breadbasket of Europe.
Yep.
Now, the problem is, I think Crimea has gone. Don't forget, Putin occupied Crimea.
Yep.
We did nothing about it, so he then got ennobled to move forward. We have to draw the line somewhere. I think, in the reality, Zelensky would be quite happy to give up and walk away if that's the price of peace, but not without surrendering. Not with surrendering so much of the Ukrainian territory.
Lizzie.
And we can't be calling him a dictator. There's only one dictator, which is Putin. And he's not a dictator. But this war...
Can we agree on that?
OK, we'll shake on that.
Agreed on that.
But we'll agree on that. But we all want peace, and Trump is there trying to do this peace deal.
Yeah.
This needs to end.
Love him or hate him, Stephen, Donald Trump, he's trying to end this conflict. Whether you agree with what we've been saying over the past week or not, his words, his tone, that's a different debate altogether. But finally, we've got a US president actually talking to Putin now to try and end this mindless killing.
Why isn't he talking to Zelensky?
I don't know.
But listen, he said Zelensky has...
wrong.
Look, we heard Trump speak that Zelensky hasn't picked up the phone or rung to try and stop this war. Look, their words going, they're giving each other, slagging each other off, basically. But look, we all want this war to stop. But Keir Starmer has to be careful what he says. I think he thinks this is his, Falklands moment, where he's going to be the hero. He has to be very, very careful of what this is really
and the thing is,
treacherous
Stephen,
time.
I see, and I'm going to have a slight go at some of my colleagues now in Parliament. I see all these MPs, men and women, running round in soldiers' outfits, camouflage on, in the 50s and 60s, pretending to be soldiers. They've never served a day in their life, and they're going to be making these sort of decisions to send our young men and women to a foreign land and potentially risk their own lives.
I couldn't agree with you. But don't forget, we've got a tradition in this country. Do you remember the Kipling thing? It's Tommy this and Tommy that and chuck him out, the brute.
Yeah.
But it's the hero of his country when the guns begin to shoot.
Yeah.
We've always had this attitude. We have a thing in Parliament called...
Oh, by the way, Stephen, if these young lads do go and do defend the Ukraine and do defend our country, when they come back and they're back in Civvy Street, they'll be far-right racists.
Exactly. That is disgusting. And my poor father, who served as a colonel in the Second World War, and he would be turning in his grave all
Why do you look so shocked?
Country.
No, I'm just impressed, not shocked.
Well, look, if you want peace, you have to prepare for war, and this is where we have to put more money into our defence.
Stephen's getting a little bit...
Pray for
Stephen,
peace. And
calm down, he's getting excited.
Hope for peace and prepare for war.
Lizzie, for the yes or no quiz.
Oh, Lord.
Stephen Pound is awful at this. He's got a terrible track record, haven't you, Stephen?
I've lost 8 times, but I did win once.
You won once, yeah. Right, you know the rules, don't you? It's a yes or no. No verbal ticks. Lizzie, please don't let him win. I could not sleep tonight if you do. Right, number 1, Lizzie, should the UK send troops to Ukraine?
No.
Stephen?
Yes.
Stephen, is Zelensky a dictator?
No.
Lizzie?
No.
Stephen, should ministers be sacked for lying on their CVs?
No.
No? Lizzie?
Yes.
This is not going to end well, is it? Lizzie, will Starmer last the full term?
No.
That's a firm no.
Yes.
Yes. 5th and final question, Stephen. Are the Labour government right to give away the Chagos Islands?
No.
I'm not sure. There was a tick there, weren't there? I want to let you have that. There was something... There's a twitch, Lizzie.
No.
Did you say no?
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. He's lost that one again. I've done him again.
He's done me like a kipper.
I've done him. This is.
I've been stitched up
all
again.
you've got to say is yes or no to this one. Did you say no?
No.
There you go. Winner, Lizzie Cundy.
Thank you very much.
Done
Fair
on
and
the
square.
tiebreaker.
Fair and square.
Now, this was interesting, Stephen. The actual lying on CVs. You said no, they shouldn't be sacked.
Well,
what sort of example does that set?
It's fraudulent. It's a criminal offence to lie on your CV. Did you know that?
Everybody, well, it depends if you use it for material benefits.
I just spoke to a lawyer.
It's not a criminal offence to lie on your CV. It is a criminal offence if you pretend to be someone and then use that for material benefit. But look, I mean, I don't know a person in the world who hasn't, perhaps put a little bit of fairy dust on their CV.
Everybody got a CV.
Yeah.
Can I just say, though, Rachel from Accounts, this wasn't like...
Have you? Did you hear that? He's got a criminal record, Stephen Pound. That's the first.
But this is the most...
outside Stamford Bridge.
You think it's OK? You think it's OK for her to lie for the most powerful position in our country? And what's worse, Keir Starmer's judgment, because he put her in there.
Guys, we're going to have to end on that. Stephen, calm down. What we have learnt tonight is we've got a career convict, a career criminal on the panel. Afraid, did you say?
It was outside Fulham Broadway Tube Station in the Fulham-Chelsea game back in 1964.
Jesus Christ.
I was bound over to keep the peace.
And you've got a job as a Labour MP?
And I've kept the peace ever since.
There you go.
Sounds like one of the major qualifications to get in the Labour Party. Look, coming up next, we've got Last Orders with Chef Dave.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Coral will be affecting eastern parts of the Mediterranean, bringing in a cold plume, so below average temperatures. These are set to affect Athens, parts of Santorini, so feeling cold here. But as we move our way further west, milder, yes, but some unsettled weather on the cards. Some rain affecting Nice, Barcelona, also parts of Portugal. But Madeira and Tenerife staying largely dry, and that remains the way into next week. Also the best of the temperatures, and temperatures improving across Santorini.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Here's your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Looking ahead to the weekend, and Saturday's going to be the driest, brightest day for many before some heavy rain and strong winds arrive on Sunday. But before all this, well, we have had a couple of frontal systems push through today. Most of the rain associated with that is now clearing away, but in the southeast, a frontal wave means we're going to see more heavy, at times persistent rain as we go through overnight and into tomorrow. Elsewhere, it's a drier story. Some showers though towards the northwest of the UK. Some clear skies here, elsewhere quite cloudy at times, and with that temperatures not dropping a huge amount, perhaps a little bit lower than some recent nights, but most places holding up in mid to high single figures. So not an especially chilly start to the day tomorrow, but it is going to be quite a wet one, particularly across parts of East Anglia and Kent. Otherwise largely dry across much of England and Wales, though fairly cloudy. A greater chance of some sunshine early on across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, but western areas will have a scattering of showers, and some of these could be a little bit on the heavy side, particularly as we go into the afternoon. I am expecting a few more showers to develop. Now, through much of the morning across England and Wales, away from the southeast, it is going to be generally dry, but a few more showers across parts of Wales, southwest England are likely to pep up as we go into the afternoon, and there's a good chance that some of these could be quite heavy and spread a bit further eastwards, whilst the rain in the southeast clears away. Temperatures down a degree or so compared to today, but with some brighter skies, lighter winds, if anything, it'll feel a bit more pleasant. Not so pleasant on Sunday. We have some heavy rain and strong winds pushing in from the west. Rainfall totals could really build up, particularly across parts of South Wales. Do stay up to date with our warnings, as there's a chance that we may need to escalate them in some places. And we have strong winds with coastal gales, perhaps gusts in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour for some. So a really unsettled day ahead. Bye-bye.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody
in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, that sounds like last orders at the bar. And tonight I'm joined by Dave Marshall, Chef Dave.
Nice to meet you again.
He's from Ashfield, one of our very own, and I've got a bone to pick with you.
Go on then.
Because it's your fault that the left call me 30p Lee.
It is. And you know what? Back in day, I didn't really have a platform to defend you. And they were
defended me.
I did try and defend you.
Let me tell you what happened.
It wasn't my fault. But...
Me and Dave, just a few years back, I met Dave. I was an MP. I was volunteering at a local food bank. Dave was raising money, batch cooking, making meals, and we was delivering them around Ashfield to vulnerable families. And, well, carry on, Dave. What did you say to me?
Well, so, I mean, you were helping, you were coming in on your days off, you were coming in at weekends, evenings, helping, doing a lot. And I said to you, look, people need to have help to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
So maybe if we do a project where I think I can feed a family of 5 per week for 50 quid.
Yeah.
As long as you put a bit of work.
No, I said that was nonsense.
Yeah. So I took you to Aldi. We spent, I think it was £51.
Yeah.
We did an event where we all cooked, batch cooked, and it worked out that each portion was 30p.
I remember that because we had 5 different recipes.
Yep.
I think one was like a sausage casserole, then there was a curry.
Yeah, so it was simple stuff.
Simple stuff. And we made
fresh, nice.
172 meals for £50. It comes to 30 pence a portion.
Yeah, and then instead of people going, you know what, Lee, that was a good thing you did.
Yeah.
They didn't. They just jumped on you and said, oh, you said that you could feed a family of 5 for 30p a week. Which is nonsense. I mean, I don't get it. You're trying to do something good.
Yeah.
You try and do stuff in the area that's good. And people jump on you and give you crap.
So the food bank we was volunteering at, Dave, they had this policy at the time where if you had a food policy, you had to... Well, they encouraged you to enrol on a cooking course.
They give you a card with recipe cards and stuff like that.
And budgeting to help people, you know, buy the right vegetables, the right cuts of meat.
This is another reason you got rubbed crap for it, because you were saying, and the same that I was saying, is people need educating, because the old saying, isn't it? Take a duck to water.
Take a duck to water. It's not that one.
Isn't it?
Teach a man to fish.
Teach a man to something to do with that.
It's similar, isn't it?
Yeah, it's similar. But
they're animals, aren't they?
It's true, because if people never know how to cook, they're never going to get out of that poverty.
Yeah. So why can't people cook these days, Dave?
Personally, I think food education is more important than maths, science, English, IT in schools. I think it should be a mandatory subject to year 11, because it doesn't matter what job you're doing. You could be a politician, you could be whatever I do, but you need to know how to cook.
Yeah.
And I think it just needs to happen, doesn't it? It's more important. I mean, you need to know how to cook more than... I've had 10, you know what I mean?
I've had some of your meals before when you worked in the...
Rubbish, aren't they?
No, they were nice.
Yeah, they were good.
Cooked a mean steak. And actually, now, you're not working at the restaurant anymore, but you're not doing... You go into people's houses, big posh houses at the weekend, and you're cooking their meals for the friends and the family.
Yeah, no, it's going really well.
How did that start?
Just, I was a bit bored doing social media. It's good, but I didn't really have a routine, and I was a bit depressed, and especially after doing the show, I was quite depressed with what I've seen and stuff, so I thought I need to do something that's keeping my mind occupied, and I was losing my cooking skills, and I didn't want to, because it's all I've ever done.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll do it. I didn't know how it would go, and fully booked now till after May. So really enjoying it. Been some big houses.
Big houses? Yeah. What, locally?
All around. So Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, but mainly Nottinghamshire, really.
Yeah. And what's the main request you get? Which meal do you do the most?
Blade of beef, slow cooked blade of beef. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Wild mushrooms on toast for a starter. Love that.
Yeah, wild mushrooms.
What would you order?
I tell you what I had the other week for the first time. They might seem a bit posh now. I was in Notting Hill. I didn't bump into Matthew Stadlin, thank goodness. I was invited to a restaurant by a Reform supporter,
and we had tagliatelles, have I said that right?
Yeah, yeah.
But with truffles.
Hey, it's nice, isn't it?
Oh,
It works well, doesn't it?
Adam
Well, that wasn't cheap.
Adam Brooks is smiling in the back there. You can't have that while you're training, Adam.
You've changed. He's going to treat me to a pie and liquor in a bit, whatever that is.
But that was beautiful, mate. I've never tried it before, but it looked very simple to make. And some of the simplest dishes are probably the most tastiest.
You still cooking? You doing out?
No, not really.
You're not? Your missus is a good cook, though, isn't she?
No, terrible. No, that's why we have got shares.
She'll be watching this, you know.
We've got shares in the local Chinese.
You when you get
local
home.
Chinese, mate. That's where we go for our Friday nights, yeah. Look, but, you know, moving forward, you've just done this show, and we spoke about it earlier.
Yep.
Go back to where you come from. What about their cooking skills in them places?
Goat.
Goat?
I was eating goat, breakfast, lunch and dinner. It was nice for the first day, and then it would just...
First day?
Goat all day, every day.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where you've had enough. It's either that or falafel for some reason.
Yeah, they've got to be quite creative, though, haven't they, in them places?
They haven't got a lot. That's what's sad. Like, they obviously haven't got a lot of ingredients. They haven't got a lot of things. But to be fair, the hospitality over there is unbelievable. Yeah. I think we should take a few hints, actually, because they're so nice, so kind, you know.
Right, Dave, we've got you behind the bar. I know you've pulled pints before, so get the pint pot there, the coloured ones.
Yep.
We're going to put you on the easiest one, which is a neck oil.
Neck oil.
Which is one of my favourite tip-offs.
I reckon we
We've got
could
to
do
pull
that.
a pint in 30 seconds.
Easy. There you go. What do you reckon to that?
There you go. I want to give that a 10 out of 10. You don't use a straw, you use a proper scraper.
If you've got a scraper.
No, you've just made a mess of Adam.
I have made a mess, actually. He's going to tell me off. But...
Well, try. It's a good pint, isn't it? Let's have a try that. This is my favourite tipple.
And we can share pints now because there's no COVID, so we're all right.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Really good
I could drink loads of that. But Dave, fast forward 5 years, when you're what, 30?
Yep.
35. What are you going to be doing then? Because you can't keep up with social media forever, can you?
To be honest, I'm really enjoying private dining, so possibly more TV work. Do
you think that could become a business, like a proper business, private dining?
I think so. I mean, people want it. I mean, I didn't realise how people actually wanted it. But like I say, I'm fully booked. I'm turning people away.
And where do you advertise for that?
Just on my Facebook.
Just Facebook?
Yeah, and then it's word of mouth, like everything. Like I post like a picture of what I've done, and then people are like, ooh, and then people I've cooked for, they'll tell other people. So, and I look after people as well. And I don't charge a ridiculous amount either. I mean, some private chefs charge like 90 quid a head. I charge 40. And that includes ingredients, because I want it to be available to everybody. I don't want it to be available just for mega rich. I want it to be available, because it's not my sole income.
Yeah.
Where if it was, I'd probably have to charge more, but because it isn't, I can charge less, and it can be available to normal working families.
And any plans to move out of Ashfield?
No, I love it. Salt to earth.
Salt to earth people.
Don't come down here much.
Yeah.
London, it's all right. I can't.
Right, I'm going to give you a challenge now then, Dave. You're in Adam Brooks's pub in Buckhurst.
It's a lovely pub, by the way.
It's a lovely pub. Great people that come in here. And if somebody came in now, you had to rustle them up a quick dinner, a wholesome dinner, cheaply. What would it be?
Beans on toast.
No, come on, mate. Something a bit more creative than that.
I'd probably do a stew.
A stew.
Cheap, easy to do. I mean, like with families, especially if you're struggling financially, like, get some slow cookers.
Yeah.
Chuck it all in it morning, go to work, do school run, come back, fresh.
What about air
nice.
fryers?
I hate them. Can't bloody stand. Throw them in the sea.
Why?
I can't stand them. I mean, they're good.
Yeah.
But I've been classically trained, like French classically trained, and like I tried to do chips in one once and ended up throwing it in bin.
Yeah.
So not for me.
There's Chef Dave, classically trained. Dave, thanks for coming all the way down
You're welcome.
here to
Thanks for inviting me down.
Buckhurst still, and good luck with the show.
Thank you.
And that's on. Is it on Channel 4? Can we advertise Channel 4?
No, I don't think
Can
so.
we do that? It's on Channel 4. When's it on next?
This Monday's the final episode, but you can catch up on. It's all online now, so you can catch up.
Dave, thanks.
Thank you for inviting me down.
That's Last Orders with Chef Dave, not Dave the Chef. Thanks for joining me on Lee Anderson's Real World. It's been another great show with some great guests, but coming up next, we've got State of the Nation.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Here's your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Looking ahead to the weekend, and Saturday's going to be the driest, brightest day for many before some heavy rain and strong winds arrive on Sunday. But before all this, well, we have had a couple of frontal systems push through today. Most of the rain associated with that is now clearing away, but In the southeast, a frontal wave means we're going to see more heavy, at times persistent rain as we go through overnight and into tomorrow. Elsewhere, it's a drier story. Some showers, though, towards the northwest of the UK. Some clear skies here, elsewhere quite cloudy at times, and with that, temperatures not dropping a huge amount, perhaps a little bit lower than some recent nights, but most places holding up in mid to high single figures. So not an especially chilly start to the day tomorrow, but it is going to be quite a wet one, particularly across parts of East Anglia and Kent, otherwise largely dry across much of England and Wales, though fairly cloudy. A greater chance of some sunshine early on across parts of Northern Ireland and